does everybody want to talk about today in this quickly collapsing Western civilization as we all watch the collapse in real time? You know what I was kind of surprised about are all the patriots out there. Apparently there are patriots left, and they are taking out these flock cameras left and right. I was actually surprised to see just how many of them, like, people are just driving around and filming these, like, some people are taking out entire poles, not just the camera. They're like chopping down the entire pole. Let me get an image here. I mean, wow, there's actually patriots left in the United States. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? And someone brought up on Twitter that actually installing the flock camera is sedition and treason to the United States of America. All the constitutional violation, privacy invasion of those who have committed no crime whatsoever, just outright spying on everybody. All the corrupt police using it to spy on their ex-girlfriends. I mean, just corruption across the board here. And the goofs, the bootlicker goofs, are saying, do not destroy public property. But wait a second. If you're extorted taxes paid for it, technically it's your property. You could destroy your property if you want. Like, who's going to stop you from destroying your own property? The goofery of statist bootlickers knows no bounds. No bounds at all. So here, some people are just taking out, like, the entire thing. I mean, this is crazy. They got some lasers. People are doing damage with lasers. Now, obviously, I do not condone aggression of any kind. I'm just asking questions. But, yeah, it's interesting. Are there patriots left in the United States of America here? Are there patriots left? Some people are not messing around. I wonder what Tommy Jeff would have thought about flock cameras, or any of the founding fathers. What would their thoughts be? Are we back? Are we back? How long were we gone? I was talking to myself for a while. What is going on here? Someone did not like me talking about flock cameras. The whole thing just crashed when I was trying to bring up this image. I'll try again. Maybe it'll crash again. Oh, it's working now. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And I think the full quote is, and will lose both. And will lose both. Now, there's a lot of bootlicking goofs on the interwebs defending flock cameras. They say, who will catch all the murderers? Who will catch them? Well, here's the homicide clearance rate of the Popo. The past few decades here. Look at this plummeting national clearance rate. And this isn't even with wrongful convictions in mind. This is a clearance rate. So this includes all of the wrongfully convicted people. This includes all the incompetent and or corrupt police and prosecutors and judges, the injustice system. The injustice system putting away plenty of innocent people. But if we assume and hallucinate, they always got the right guy, this is the clearance rate. Less than 50% in many jurisdictions. With the rise of CCTV, GPS, cell phone tracking, traffic cameras, this is the result. And the goofery of the statist scum, the traitors to humanity, that say flock cameras are good. If you have nothing to hide, why are you complaining? Well, perhaps schedule a po-po check of your bedroom every 20 minutes. I mean, if you have nothing to hide, that's a small price to pay for the inconvenience of your domicile being swept every 20 minutes. Where do you draw the line? Where do the bootlickers draw the line? I don't know. Flat Bob says they were flocking to stop you talking about it. Wow, yeah. That was weird. Jeff UNP says, I'm just thinking about riding around with a jammer, just thinking it's also pretty effective, but only while driving, slow driving. Christopher Allen asks, does anyone have first-hand knowledge of the green laser? What is it said to do? Yeah, I don't know. Supposedly it damages the lens or something. I don't know. There's like these mini EMPs people were dealing with a while ago, but I don't know that much about them. Oh yeah, Jeff UNP, the full quote is deserve neither and will lose both. Yeah. Okay. Les Donaldson says, I still have the PD asking for the public's help finding criminals. Yeah, I mean, the public should be getting a share of the paychecks of the jackboots who can't clear homicides or any crimes, really. When seconds matter, the po-po are only minutes or longer away. I mean, there's entire neighborhoods of cities where the cops won't even show up. Like, you'll call, they won't show up. It's a dangerous neighborhood. They don't feel like showing up. They'd rather just harass the citizenry for non-violent, victimless so-called crimes. I mean, you know, like tinting windows on your car. Oh man, the gophery. Alright, so what does everybody want to go over today? CJ says, Founding Fathers had no intentions of ever letting females vote. Any problem you're going to bring up is downstream from the 19th Amendment. Nah, CJ. Nah. The problem is Congress has the right to tax. That's the issue. You have opened Pandora's box, my friend. Voting doesn't even matter. Begging your slave masters has nothing to do with anything. Pathetically begging a slave master while consenting to be ruled by the person you didn't even vote for if mob rule is successful. That kind of goofery, that's well beyond who's voting, because voting doesn't matter. I present to you Exhibit A, the great Lysander Spooner. I mean, this is the true patriot people should have been learning about in indoctrination facilities. I mean, this guy is arguably more of a patriot than any of the Founding Fathers. If taxation without consent is not a robbery, then any band of robbers have only to declare themselves a government and all their robberies are legalized. So let's just call ourselves a government and just start doing bank jobs. Or just, you know, going around the neighborhood collecting taxes, in quotation. I mean, the goofery. What does voting have anything to do with this? Okay. Jeff UMP says there are also shades which block IR light, so your eyes at least won't show up. Yeah, but they're gonna get your plate. They got all your devices. They can kill switch your car, which I need to do a whole podcast on that, because I remember somewhere around 2008 that was news in the conspiracy circles, and then around 2015 it was mainstream. But now it's like popping up in the mainstream news again, like car kill switches, but they've been around for over a decade. Les on the phone says, so when is a good time to stand up? What do you mean? Are you talking in the context of disrupting tyranny? Perhaps we should defer to a little paper called the Declaration of Independence, perhaps far more important than the Constitution. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station in which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Not that some random terrorists in costumes and badges somehow magically have more rights they can assault and extort. That a bunch of fat criminals sitting around in D.C. scribbling on papers, subjugating the entirety of the population. And the goofs that hallucinate that those scribbles have any kind of value whatsoever. The goofery that is statism, the deadliest, most oppressive religious cult in history. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, or at least they used to be, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So what does that mean? If you didn't consent, why are you being extorted, herded like cattle, like a flock of sheep? That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, like going fishing without a license, destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that. So, I mean, really, the only necessity of a government, some kind of organization, which is almost a misnomer, because you don't even need a government. Like, why do you need an organized body of oppression? You can have, like, private institutions, a militia, to defend from foreign and domestic threats that can band together as necessary. I mean, what else do you need? What else do you need? Like, to all the anti-liberty goofs who hallucinate, there'll be anarchy. There'll be murder in the street. Wait, is there no murder in the streets now? There'll be rioting and looting and theft and assault of all kinds of... Wait, have you not looked around? All you're doing is legalizing it and adding to it, because there's going to be private murder, assault, theft, riot. Like, all that stuff is done by private citizens, will always be done, always was done, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's called human nature. Simply having cops show up after the crime and then failing to solve it, I mean, what does that really do other than just to increase the extortion, cause inflation, lower the standard of living? I mean, all it does is add more. I mean, this is one of the most hilarious and saddest memes simultaneously. And this one's pretty old. But are there any people who don't understand this? Statism, the brilliant idea that we give a small group of people the right to kidnap, steal from, and kill us, so that we can be protected from people who kidnap, steal from us, and kill us. But here's a great question. Larkin Rose posed this question. Who has stolen more of your money? Private citizens or the government? Over the course of your lifetime, add up every single time you've been robbed by a private criminal, by a non-government entity, and then add up all the taxes, income, sales, tolls, every single tax in your whole life. Is it even gonna be close? Add up every single time you've been deprived of your liberty, literally kidnapped. Not necessarily at gunpoint, but with a gun present, holstered or not, either on the road or wherever. How many private citizens have done that to you? Versus mercenaries for the state, known as the po-po. Add it all up. Add it all up. Les on the phone says, I've had more guns pointed at my face by the government than a private citizen. CJ says, so you guys are doomers? You think everybody's evil? There's no good people in the world? Holy straw man, Batman! CJ's going full logical illiterate. I mean, this is MINDSHOCK, CJ. Why are you spamming fallacies like no tomorrow? There's plenty of good people in the world. What are you talking about? I would even argue there's more good people than bad people. Call me crazy. Just my opinion. I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. But if I had to guess, I would say there are more good people than bad people in the world. Now, by good, I mean non-evil. I'm not saying there's more non-selfish than selfish or things like that. But I'm talking about people that would, kill you, rob you, maliciously. Call me naive. But I think it's just a guess. Just a guess, not a definitive claim. CJ with the fallacy, so what's the alternative? With the diversion fallacy. Falsification is independent of replacement. Just because there's, this is crazy, CJ. You're posting like it's your first time here. Like, what's going on, CJ? When we're not even talking about diet or the 70s, and you're going full logical illiteracy. The alternative is anarchy, which already exists. People fend for themselves, right? Like, go to the grocery store. It's a private enterprise, right? Everything's organized. There's private workers. I mean, another good example is like a nightclub, right? Nobody forces you to go. But you can go. There's private security. Like, if there's an issue, you could deal with the bouncers. You could also have your own private security. Like, if you're a VIP, you have your own bodyguards. So they can kind of figure it out with the security of the nightclub. There's no all-powerful government entity there. And then you have any kind of legal dispute would involve your lawyers, just like now. I mean, everything is just like now, except there's no added entity. So there's not this 1,000,000x multiplier stealing from you and destroying your life. So there's still going to be all these problems. This isn't a magic fairy tale reality. Like, there's always going to be people killing people. Clearly, laws don't stop that. There's always going to be people robbing people. Laws don't stop that. But without the government extorting you, without the government preventing you from actually earning a living, whether it's free market capitalism of selling plants, consenting adults selling plants between each other. Obviously with kids it's a different issue. You're harming individuals but who aren't adults. But among adults, You know, like you don't need like all these business licensing, the bureaucracy, the red tape preventing any and all people from making a living without jumping through endless hoops and paying endless fees. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, China has more business freedom, less personal freedom, but more business. It's easier to start a business in China than America. There's less business regulation. So, and then of course, have you not listened to the Statism Exposed podcast, CJ? I have two podcasts, Statism Exposed and The Greatest Threat to Mankind. Those two podcasts, check them out. Check them out, and I go over everything there. There's an area in Asia called Zomia, where there's been no government for supposedly thousands of years. So it's just a bunch of farmers. They don't like to be ruled. And again, if according to the mainstream narrative, which I'm not claiming is true, even Genghis Khan apparently didn't even attempt to conquer Zomia because they just have the reputation. They do not kneel. They do not pay taxes. They don't engage in governance. They will not be governed. So yeah. So that's, CJ, come on, man. Come on, man. CJ says, I think voting does matter, but sure, they could pull a COVID if we get a good president like Trump. How does voting matter if it's all corrupt? Like, let's assume the voting is legitimate and all of the voting machines aren't manipulated. Just for the sake of argument, as a thought exercise, how do you think mob rule is a good idea? The majority of people are morons. Like, what's that old saying? Like, the people that are so stupid that they would benefit from some kind of governance, they don't have the competency to determine the type of government that would be in their best interest, so they can't vote for it anyway. Not to mention, it violates the very foundation of liberty to necessitate some kind of slave master to tell you how to live your life. Alright, CJ's opened Pandora's box here, so I'm gonna have to play the Larkin Rose video on statism, because CJ, I mean, just the fallacy spam from CJ. CJ saying voting matters. I mean, oh man, this is tough on MINDSHOCK. And CJ is like a long time MINDSHOCK listener too. I mean, this is tough. This is tough. This is really tough. CJ, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed in you. Kind of disappointed in you. Actually, why don't we make this a jingle? Let's make this a jingle. Pay attention, CJ.
Hey boys and girls, that important day is almost here, Election Day, and we're counting on you to do your duty and vote. Yeah, your vote is statistically irrelevant and won't change anything, but it's still important that you participate in the process. Of course, voting isn't going to do you any good. It never did and it never will. You know that. But we still need you to participate in the pseudo-religious ritual called democracy. And here's why. You gotta vote to keep up the illusion that the people are in control. You gotta vote for one or two narcissistic megalomaniacs with no soul. You gotta vote so when they rob you blind they can say it was with your consent. You gotta vote so that when they lie, cheat and steal, you think it's you they represent. Yeah, you gotta vote.
I'm allowed to hide in a booth and press a button, and that makes me important.
Worried that you're uninformed and know nothing about the candidates? Who cares? It doesn't matter which empty suit puppet you support. What matters is that you continue to legitimize your own subjugation and enslavement by playing the game.
Is this making sense yet, CJ? Fair use, obviously. The great Larkin Rose. CJ says, why do they psyop everybody if it doesn't matter what you think? CJ, what is with the fallacies? Begging the question, straw man, red herring fallacy. Obviously, it matters what you think. We're just talking about being oppressed by a system. Man. Jeff UNP says, I've never voted in my life. I'd rather carry water to the ocean. There might be more of a... You might get more bang for your buck there, Jeff. Well, here's the problem with voting. Because if you vote... I've never voted ever either. Which is weird because I actually didn't even look at statism or the philosophies of anything. I just... I don't know. It was, call it intuition, right? Like, I didn't even really think about why I wasn't voting. I guess I just didn't want to participate in corruption, but I didn't really understand the philosophy of any of this. I guess it was just intuition. But yeah, the problem with voting is you're complicit. You're complicit. So the blood of all the bombed children in all the countries the government, your government has sent mercenaries to, is with your endorsement. Because by voting, you consent that even the candidate you didn't vote for can legitimately rule. So all the policies you don't want, you consent to all the policies of your candidate's opposition, of the opposing, because that's part of the process, that's part of the system of mob rule, the evil of mob rule. The greatest of all appeal to popularity logical fallacy. Democracy itself is a fallacy. So that's the issue with voting, because you have so much blood on your hands, even if it's not your candidate. And if it is your candidate, you know full well your candidate might be lying. There's a politician. How do you know if a politician is lying? His mouth is open. So there's really no excuse, because not only do you consent to the opposing candidate ruling you and using your money to kill children in other countries and traffic children in this country, traffic drugs like the CIA, etc. It's all on your hands because you agree, you consent to the system that even that if the opposing candidate wins, you consent to be ruled by them. So that's the issue. Oh, I see, with a great question. We all pay tax. What exactly for? So that the mercenaries can be better equipped to stomp on you with their boots while you lick them. Mr. 1-to-1 says, I've never voted either. Nice to hear I'm not alone. We got a lot of logical people in here, and I think CJ actually is logical. I think CJ is very logical, just a couple of blind spots on nutrition, statism, and I wouldn't even say the 70s. I think, CJ, everything you said about the 70s, I think is accurate. It's just you're not comparing it accurately to what's going on now. So I don't remember you saying anything inaccurate about what was going on in the 70s. It's just there's way worse stuff going on now on a more massive scale. Aaron's Energy, they need to have us under the spell of thinking we have free will. Well, I don't know. See, revelation of the method would dictate the powers that be know that we have free will and they cannot violate it. So that's what all the psyops are for. It's like sort of with your permission. So, CJ, keep paying attention here. We got more to go over.
You see, voting lets your masters know that they can do whatever they want to you, and all you'll ever do is pathetically beg for mercy. So pointlessly obsess over elections while they extract from you every scrap of wealth, dignity, or freedom you had left. You gotta vote to keep up the illusion that the people are in control. You gotta vote for one of two narcissistic megalomaniacs with no soul. You gotta vote so when they rob you blind, they can say it was with your consent. You gotta vote so that when they try and rule the world, you'll think it's you they represent. Yeah, you gotta vote. after me, boys and girls. You gotta vote. Choosing between two slave masters is just as good as being free. You gotta vote. The politicians only want power so they can serve you. You gotta vote. If we didn't have them ruling us, we'd be killing and eating each other. You gotta vote. Extortion and thuggery are good things when they're called law.
Larkin's hilarious. I still don't know what the deal is with his, like, blind spot with scientism. But other than his scientism blind spots, I mean, Larkin is top-notch with the logic. Top-notch. CJ says, if everyone was smart as a whip, yeah, it would change things. They did it through culture because it actually matters. If every man in America has the mentality of Dana White, you don't think that would change anything? Well, now you're doing false dichotomies, appeal to extremes, hasty generalizations, and further red herring logical fallacies. It doesn't matter. Because appeal to popularity will always be a logical fallacy, no matter what. That's what makes it a logical fallacy. It's invalid. It's logically invalid, no matter how you spin it. So that doesn't mean the majority of people can't have the correct position about something. Obviously, that would be the fallacy. If everybody thinks 1 + 1 is 2, it's still 2. Even if it's the appeal to popularity logic, the truth's whatever it is. But it's not because of the amount of people that think it. It's not that the majority can't be correct about things. They could, theoretically. They're apparently not very often, but still, that's what makes it the fallacy we keep in mind. But subjugating people under the illusion of popular vote is just logically invalid and obviously the opposite of liberty and everything that America is supposed to stand for, or just, basic humanity. Statists are all triggered. They're all just traitors to humanity, triggered that anybody would want to live free. And all government does is give the illusion of safety while inflicting far more evil than if it didn't exist. Because think about it. Without statism, the amount of resources a random gang has is not going to be a lot. But when you have, as Nietzsche said, the coldest of all cold monsters, the beast that is the state with their trillions of extorted funds, plus they could just print money whenever they want. I mean, now they have mercenaries that are far better armed than any private gang, that have far greater technology to subjugate and destroy you than a random gang. A random gang who just, went around and doing a couple of burglaries. They're not going to have the resources, the communications, not to mention the propaganda campaigns. Now, if not for statism, if not for indoctrination facilities, people would be a lot smarter, right? They wouldn't have had the logic and reason indoctrinated out of them. Do you know about the study? I went over this study. I don't know if I have it handy. Where it was like 90% of kindergartners entering public school are genius level problem solvers. By the time they graduate high school, it's less than 5%. So a human being, if not corrupted and indoctrinated out of the use of logic and reason, if not poisoned by air, food, water, and various injections or medical treatments, the average human is very smart. Very smart. So that's why everything you just said, CJ, is just one giant logical fallacy stack. So let's continue here.
You gotta vote. Hey, they're elected, so they have the right to do anything they want to you. You gotta vote. People who blindly obey the state are noble, upstanding citizens. You gotta vote. People who disobey the politicians are criminals and terrorists. You gotta vote. If you don't vote, you can't complain. You gotta vote.
If you're finally ready to accept the fact that your vote means nothing, and if you want to know what is needed to actually achieve freedom and justice, then you need to read The Most Dangerous Superstition, available at Amazon.com.
When it comes or not, Gleam is... I have to engage in just to get some of these videos playing.
I love my country, where at least I know I'm free. Free to choose which lying crooks will walk all over me. I earn my living, working proud and strong, but the IRS wiped out my bank while I made up this song. I hear the people calling this the home of the brave. So why are we all scared to death of some crackpot in a cave? They want me to cross an ocean to die for my country's flag, but the politicians don't want me to have no 30-round mag.
I mean, Larkin is so hilarious. I mean, that's an interesting point, right? They want 18-year-old kids to be mercenaries for the state, go to other countries and bomb and shoot children, while you can't even have weapons to defend yourself against more than one assailant, let alone the corrupt government, with all the regulation. That's a great point by Larkin. Fair use here for Larkin's incredible music. All right, let me catch up on some comments here. Jeff UNP says, Yuri told about the KGB doing it to USA. KGB is gone. Who took over because it's still going on in the subversion? Is the KGB gone, Jeff UNP? Have you not listened to my conspiracy podcast, AI Analysis? I had AI analyze the collapse of the Soviet Union. Yeah, maybe I'll do a re-air on that one. It's pretty interesting. Supposedly the collapse of the Soviet Union was also just like one giant psyop. So, yeah. So, okay. Let's continue here.
I thought it was awful nice of them to give stuff away for free, but I felt a wee tad differently when they sent the bill to me. But I still feel so very lucky that I'm allowed to vote, to choose which gang of thugs will have their jackboots on my throat. I love my country, where at least I know I'm free. Free to choose which lying crooks will walk all over me. Yes, I love my country, but I'm damn sure this ain't it. Poor Constitution, those DC liars treat that thing like, well, I love my country, but I ain't sure where it went. When Karl Marx explained his plan, I think this is what he meant. Yes, I love my country, sure like to get it back. Things just haven't been the same since that false flag attack, but I love my country.
Interesting lyrics here. Larkin just said things haven't been the same since that false flag attack, and I think everybody knows which one he is alleging. I, on the other hand, of course, do not claim anything is true or untrue. This is MINDSHOCK, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure, and we're not even sure about that. CJ says, I really believe if only men could vote, all of our problems would literally go away. Really? You're spamming that large of a fallacy stack? That's like a Craig-style fallacy. That's a Craig-sized fallacy stack. Papa Pump, I can see your comment. Just set the live chat to all chat or live chat instead of top chat. Otherwise, some comments don't come up. Scott Hawkins says USS Liberty, Gulf of Tonkin. Flabhouse is Gulf of Tonkin. Jeff UNP says Pearl Harbor, Tonkin, Liberty, or WTC. Well, he had the World Trade Center up, so. But yeah, you could argue the slippery slope started on the earlier ones. Yeah. Look, there's different ways to make things worse, including who can and can't vote. But that's all irrelevant. That's all moot, because you don't have freedom if you're engaging in appeal to popularity fallacy in mob rule. Like, even if you have principled good men engaging in mob rule, but why would they want to, right? Like, what kind of moron would think mob rule is a good way to live? I mean, look at some of these ancient societies, allegedly, whatever. Native American, like, you have a council of wise men, and they decide things. They don't put up a popular vote to either the men or the women of the whole village, because they're not suited for that. You have the wisest of the wise on the council, the elders. Now, maybe there's some kind of royalty or chieftain whose opinion maybe counts for more than the others in the council. But you have a very, very small amount of people. What's interesting about monarchies, like, I don't endorse any kind of statism, because even in this village, anybody's free to leave the village at any time. Nobody's held at gunpoint or bow and arrow point and said, "Oh, you have to stay with the village." You can go live however you want without the village. Nobody's compelling you or trying to tax you. But if you want, you can stay with the village, with the tribe, for mutual benefit, to share resources, etc., with fair contribution, not leeching off the tribe, but with fair contribution. Everybody hunts or gathers, builds the teepee, makes the leather, makes the hides. So, yeah, you have only the elders are making those decisions. Not the men, not the younger men of the tribe who don't have the life experience to know what's best for the tribe or the village. So mob rule, I mean, I would say that's dumber than monarchies, because at least with the monarchy, there's a chance. If you have a principled, honorable leader, which is extremely rare, but if you do, or like a shot caller, whatever, William Wallace, Braveheart, whatever, and his band and his private army, like, if you have an honorable, principled man calling all the shots, there's no voting. If you have an honorable man, he will do what's right. Voting is always the most evil and the most inefficient option, because you're giving equal weight to the opinion of every random schmo. Even if all the random schmoes are kind of intelligent, the fact that it's so fragmented and inefficient compared to a single ruler or a single council. Now, I don't have an issue with voluntary style government. I mean, we shouldn't even use the word government for that. But with some kind of voluntary council, and they're not going to force anything upon anyone. But if it's just like going to the grocery store, like, you agree to nobody's forcing you to go to the grocery store. But if you do go to the grocery store, you basically agree to their rules. Like, you can use a cart or a basket, you have to go in the checkout line, etc. Nobody's got a gun to your head extorting you. So, or like, same thing, you go to a bar, like, or a nightclub, there's security. Nobody's forcing you to go in. But with statism, it's forced upon you. Literally at gunpoint, under threat of being put in a cage and having your stuff stolen. I mean, this is just basic philosophy at this point. Here is statism summarized. Statism. Ideas so good they have to be mandatory. But I hope CJ's paying attention here, because we've gone over this many times. I mean, this is basic philosophy. That doesn't criminal that bad going around violating everybody's rights. Not only are they going to get sued, but the reviews are going to be so bad. That's why you have free market capitalism. The system we have right now is corporatism. For all the clueless goofs that think we have capitalism now, there is no capitalism now. It's corporatism. Obrick says, if someone stormed into my house, I was in force against it until police or whoever would come and take them away. Yeah, so if you had the option of several different private security... Man, CJ is really trying to set records with the fallacies here. I think what you're thinking is exactly what they want you to think. Don't even try. That's not what they want you to think. First of all. Second of all, where did you hallucinate that straw man from, CJ? Come on, you're acting like it's your first time on MindShock. Like, exposing statism is the last thing they would want. I mean, there's two schools of thought here. In general, they have different, they're not stupid. They have different categories for people. They want the masses engaged and distracted with statism, right? Democrats versus Republicans. They want everybody so lost in the sauce of statism, they're not even questioning the legitimacy of statism itself. Because if they did, they would realize they have no use for statism and all these corrupt puppets. If everybody thought that, there would be no statism. The world would get fixed right quick, which is not what they want, CJ. Like, how could you be this clueless? Or, I mean, man, what is going on, CJ? What is going on? They want everybody thinking the votes matter. So they're distracted with the bread and circus of the voting and all of these statist rituals. Instead of curbing the reliance on the state. If you're self-sustained, if you don't actually need the state, if you're well-armed, if you have a whole well-armed community standing with you, that is the answer against statism. The corrupt powers that be. There's a very interesting metric. Let me see. Yeah, it's called the 3.5% rule. So, what is the 3.5% rule? Political scientist Erica Chenoweth, they, them, seriously? Those are her pronouns. This is older than pronouns, though. This is weird. I don't know why they put that in there. Studied over 300 violent and nonviolent campaigns. They found that when 3.5% of a population joins in a peak action, movements have been highly likely to succeed at maximalist goals such as removing a national leader. The 3.5% rule helps us imagine what's possible. In the U.S., that's about 11.7 million people, or about 107 people in every city and town in the U.S. and its territories. We don't need everyone, we need just enough. So, to overthrow a government, 3.5% rule. Now, you can look at the Revolutionary War, you can look at all of them, more modern conflicts, 3.5%. So CJ hallucinating, this is not what that they want you to think, voting doesn't matter. Where are these straw men coming from, CJ? I mean, these are some of the most egregious, logically fallacious strawmen. I mean, these are Craig-level strawmen. Flapbob says they're going to do what they want regardless. You get two choices which end up with the same result. Are you blind? Slightly different flavor of the result. But yeah, they don't really care who you vote for. Now, there's a slightly different plan on who you vote for. It's kind of like Choose Your Own Adventure, but they wrote the book. So they know they've plotted out the storyline for each of the candidates. Austin MP says Bernie Sanders is the answer. Surely you jest, Austin. Austin better be jesting here, unlike CJ, who's like spamming fallacies like no tomorrow. Look, obviously, feminism has accelerated the absolute collapse of the West, inflation. You know, it snowballed the collapse a lot. But the vote has nothing to do with that. It would have happened even if women. Let's indulge your hallucination for a second. Let's say women couldn't vote. What's different right now? What's different? If it was between, but let's say women could run for president or not, whatever. But even if they could, Trump would have still won. Like, what's really that different? Or are you arguing no women in the workforce at all, no feminism? That's a different argument. If we're just using the metric women can't vote, the system's practically the same. Also, the powers that be using feminism, the satanic Illuminati filth that want to destroy society, if they can't manipulate female voters to get what they want, they'll do it a different way. Are you really that dumb? Did you really say all the problems would be solved? I mean, that's going full retard, CJ. That's going full retard. You can call any of them, and you can go look up their review.
When they weren't killing people, supporting hippie by
Current law enforcement in the United States.
the upstanding, church-going, law-abiding, tax-paying citizen who votes Democrat or Republican is far more despicable and a bigger threat to humanity than the most promiscuous, lazy, drug-snorting hippie. Why? Because the hippie is willing to let others be free, and the voter is not. The damage done to society by bad habits and loose morality is nothing compared to the damage done to society by the self-righteous violence committed in the name of the state. You imagine yourselves to be charitable and tolerant when you are nothing of the sort. Even the Nazis had table manners and proper etiquette when they weren't killing people. You think you're good people because you say please and thank you? You think sitting in that big building on Sunday makes you noble and righteous? The difference between you and a common thief is that the thief has the honesty to commit the crime himself, while you whine for government to do your stealing for you.
How powerful was that? The thief has the honesty to commit the crime himself, whereas voters do not. Because when you participate in voting, you want the money stolen, call it taxes, what you will, you want the money stolen and used for whatever you want it to be used for. There's no honesty there. Whereas the criminal, a private thief, regardless of how immoral the private thief is, the private thief is more honest. It's kind of hard to argue against that. The private thief is more honest. Nobody wants to think about that. What say the 13% statists that voted in the poll here? Does anybody have a rebuttal for what Larkin Rose just said about the honesty of private thieves versus voters? Bueller? Anyone? Do any statists have a rebuttal for that? No rebuttals? Miranda asks, how honest, though, are they admitting to the theft? Well, it's not about what they say, it's about what they do. Whereas the thief isn't hired, well, some thieves might hire other people to steal for them, but he's making the point about, like, let's say pickpockets or muggers. They're honest enough to commit the crime themselves. So their actions are honest in terms of they're not pretending they're benefiting the person they're mugging. There's no illusion there. Like when they put a gun in someone's face and want to take their money, there's no deception. It is exactly what it looks like. They're stealing your money. There's no deception in the theft. Caitlin says, spitting facts. Miranda has an emoji here, raising your hand. What does that mean? You have a question? I've never seen that emoji before. Just raising the hand. Does that mean you have a question? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I think CJ's just trolling at this point, probably. I mean, I don't know. But let me bring up this Mark Twain banger. If voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it. Why don't you marinate on that, CJ, before spamming further fallacies? Where were the statists?
You all vote for...
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, where were the statists? 13% voted statist, and nobody's bringing anything up. Okay.
The difference between you and the street thug is that the thug is open about the violence he commits, while you let others forcibly control your neighbors on your behalf. You advocate theft, harassment, assault, and even murder, but accept no responsibility for doing so. You old folks want the government to steal from your kids so you can get your monthly check. You parents want all your neighbors to be robbed to pay for your kids' schooling. You all vote for whichever crook promises to steal money from other people to pay for what you want.
Caitlin asks, what if you are for voting but against taxation? Well, what is voting? Voting, you want someone to control other people for you. Like what system? Are you talking about some kind of voluntary government where you vote for a leader of a voluntary government that's not going to force anyone to do anything? If in the current system, if you're voting, then it doesn't matter whether you're for or against taxation, because even if you're against it, by voting, you're basically consenting that the people you're voting for represent you. So even if they are against taxation, the current system is taxation, so the taxation will continue, and they're going to choose what the stolen loot is used for. They're going to continue paying police officers to give people speeding tickets when there was no injured party, violating their right to travel, violating human rights. Oh, the Greeks said must have rules to have freedom. I actually don't remember them saying that, but even if that's true, that doesn't mean you violate human rights. That doesn't govern privately handled.
Is the state destroyed?
What has the government made not cost more and be worse than when it was privately handled?
You demand that those people who engage in behaviors you don't approve of be dragged off and locked up, but feel no guilt for the countless lives your whims have destroyed. You even call the government thugs your representatives, and yet you never take responsibility for the evil they commit. You proudly support the troops as they kill whomever the liars in D.C. tell them to kill, and you feel good about it. You call yourselves Christians or Jews or claim to follow some other religion, but the truth is what you call your religion is empty window dressing. What you truly worship, the God you really bow to, what you really believe in is the state. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, unless you can do it by way of government. Then it's just fine, isn't it? If you call it taxation and war, it stops being a sin, right? After all, it was only your God that said you shouldn't steal and murder, but the state said it was okay. It's pretty obvious which one outranks the other in your minds. Despite all the churches, synagogues, and mosques we see around us, this nation has one God and only one God, and that God is called government.
Larkin dropping bombs. So Larkin Rose just called out 99% of people who claim to follow a different religion other than statism, because they violate their own religion by endorsing government. And that's a very important point, because all these so-called religious leaders, they want people to grovel at the boot of government in direct opposition to what their religious texts say, in direct opposition to the Ten Commandments. So I don't know if this quote is actually from Orwell, but the quote is, "A people that elect corrupt politicians are not victims, but accomplices." And I would actually change that. It doesn't matter if they're corrupt or not. They hallucinate to have the right to rule, and other people who support that hallucination vote for them. And so they are accomplices. All the blood is shared on their hands. Big fish, small pond. Yes, you can ask any question in the chat. I'm going to go Bible quote here that'll clearly illustrate this point Larkin is making here. Ephesians 6:12, "For our struggle is not against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world." I mean, that's just one of many. 1 Corinthians 2:5, "Your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men." So all these goofs scribbling things, calling them laws, all these politicians pretending to be wise and knowing what's best, faith should not stand in the wisdom of men. Government is representation of the alleged wisdom of men. So again, Larkin Rose laying the smackdown on all the religions that support statism being against their own religion. They are traitors to their own religions. Can anybody counterpoint that?
Jesus taught nonviolence and told you to love your neighbor, but the state encourages you to vote for people who will use the violence of government to butt into every aspect of everyone else's life. Which do you believe? To those about to stone a woman who had committed adultery, Jesus said, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." But the state says it's perfectly fine to lock someone up if they do something you find distasteful, such as prostitution. Which do you believe? The Christian God says, "Thou shalt not covet," but coveting is the lifeblood of the beast that is the state. You are taught to resent, despise, and hate anyone who has anything you don't have. You clamor for the state to tear other people down, steal their property, and give it to you. And you call that fairness. The Bible calls it coveting and stealing. You are not Christians. You are not Jews. You are not Muslims. And you certainly aren't atheists. You all have the same God, and its name is government. You're all members of the most evil, insane, destructive cult in history. If there ever was a devil, the state is it. And you worship it with all your heart and soul. You pray to it to solve every problem, to satisfy all your needs, to smite your enemies, and to shower its blessings upon you. You worship what Nietzsche called the coldest of all cold monsters, and you hate those of us who don't. To you, the greatest sin is disobeying your God, breaking the law, you call it, as if anyone could possibly have any moral obligation to obey the arbitrary commands and demands of the corrupt, lying, delusional megalomaniacs who infest this despicable town. Even your ministers, priests, and rabbis, more often than not, are traitors to their own religions, teaching that the commands of human authority should supersede adherence to the laws of the gods they say they believe in. Several years ago, I heard one pompous evangelical jackass in particular pontificating on the radio that anyone who disobeys the civil authority, be it a king or any other government, is engaging in rebellion against God. Those were the exact words he used. What if the government is doing something wrong? Well, this salesman for Satan opined, that is the business of those in government, and you are still obligated to obey. Everywhere you turn, be it the state or the church, the media or the schools, you are taught one thing above all else, the virtue of subjugating yourselves to mortals who claim to have the right to rule you.
He's speaking straight to you, CJ, and your fallacies. CJ says, I just think America is the best thing going relative to other scenarios. Well, sure. Who's disputing that? I'm not telling you to go to some kind of third world country. I mean, look, every country has pros and cons. I was actually just talking about this in the comments with one of the living abroad MINDSHOCKers, because he was saying there's a lot more peaceful places than the U.S. Well, the U.S. is so big. I mean, Democrat murder capitals, sure. Those are some of the worst places in the world. But outside of the Democrat murder capital cities, the United States is kind of awesome. I mean, not as awesome as it was before the increase in corruption and surveillance. But some of the rural areas in the U.S. are just really great. And what I mentioned, it was the long-term safety, not just short-term. Because in some of these other countries, even though they might have extremely low violent crime at the moment, when there's civil unrest, I mean, Americans have been killed in such situations in other countries, particularly some certain South American countries, Southeast Asia. I mean, there are certain situations that could arise, even if everything is relatively calm at the moment. Yeah, like America is pretty awesome, but again, you just keep spamming all of these fallacies, diversion fallacies, begging the question fallacies, and a whole lot of straw man fallacies, CJ. The thing is, voting doesn't matter. You're just crying to be ruled over. You're just engaging one giant appeal to authority logical fallacy. Like, CJ, you're part of the occult of authority worship. If you say voting in government matters, that means you consider yourself that soy boy, that soy maxing soy boy. Because you need other people to tell you how to live. If you're not a real man, no offense to women, I mean, real women don't need people telling them don't need the state telling them how to live either, right? Any functioning adult that has any kind of honor, why would they need some corrupt scum writing scribbles to tell them how to live? Like, CJ, come on, if you're not trolling here. CJ says slave morality? Or slave mentality, which is what you're preaching right now, slave mentality. You want to subjugate yourself by voting and groveling for the state and authorities to tell you exactly how to live with their rules and regulation, and you want to vote in particular regulations versus other regulations, which, sure, some of them obviously there are ways within the evil slave system. Yes, you can make it better, but why would you want to stay in that evil slave system, though? Just like slaves on a plantation, yes, if the slave masters were kinder, if they had a different slave master, the conditions could be better, sure. But why would you even want to be a slave on the plantation, though? So that's like the slave saying, oh, the slave plantation owner doesn't matter. Well, on a small scale, they matter. Maybe they'll get slightly more food with a kinder slave master. But you're just spamming all these diversion fallacies and pretending the point isn't about things could be better within the system. The point is about the system being fraudulent and treasonous to the very nature of free humanity on its face.
It is sickening the reverence with which you speak of the liars and thieves whose feet are so firmly planted on your necks. You call the congressmen and the judges honorable, and you swoon at the magnificence of the grandiose halls they inhabit, the temples they built to celebrate the domination of mankind. You feel pride at being able to say you once shook a senator's hand or saw the president in person. Ah, yes, the grand deity himself, His Royal Highness, the President of the United States of America. You speak the title as if you're referring to God Almighty. The vocabulary has changed a bit, but your mindset is no different from that of the groveling peasants of old, who bowed low, faces in the dirt, with a feeling of unworthiness and humility when in the presence of whatever narcissist had declared himself to be their rightful lord and master. The truth of the matter, back then and today, is that these parasites who call themselves leaders are not superior beings. They are not great men and women. They are not honorable. They're not even average. The people who earn an honest living, from sophisticated millionaire entrepreneurs to illiterate day laborers doing the most menial tasks you can imagine, those people deserve your respect. Those people you should treat with courtesy and civility. But the frauds who claim the right to rule you and demand your subservience and obedience, they deserve only your scorn and contempt. Those who seek so-called high office are the lowest of the low. They may dress better, have larger vocabularies, and do a better job of planning out and executing their schemes, but they are no better than pickpockets, muggers, and carjackers. In fact, they are worse, because they don't want to rob you of just your possessions. They want to rob you of your very humanity, deprive you of your free will, by slowly leeching away your ability to think, to judge, to act, reducing you to slaves in both body and mind.
Again, just shout out Larkin Rose. Again, he might have a huge blind spot when it comes to scientism, which is very strange, because look at how accurately and logically Larkin is just dismantling and exposing statism, but for whatever reason, he's falling into the trap of having a captured mind when it comes to scientism. But anyway, that aside, everything he's saying here is so deep. If CJ wasn't so hopelessly indoctrinated into the cult of authority worship and statism, perhaps some of this would be getting through. Welcome, Critter Mama. Les Xylophone says, don't let him hijack the podcast. He's Fed posting. Do you mean he's Fed posting, or he's like rage, or he's like feeding rage bait posts, like trolling? He says, put Clavicular in charge, put Andrew Tate in charge. You know, like I said, okay, look, CJ, I'm gonna have to put you in timeout in a second if you're being intentionally obtuse here. No one is saying that if you didn't have a kinder slave master on the plantation, that things could be better for the slaves. That's not the argument. That's not the argument. The argument is, should anybody be a slave on a plantation in the first place? Do you have a right to be free as a human being? So CJ, you're being a traitor to humanity right now. If you're advocating for government and voting, etc., for not being in charge of your own life. Larkin, like this part right here is just very apt. Welcome, Sandro.
And still you persist in calling them leaders. Leaders? Where is it that you think you're going exactly that would require you to have a leader? If you just live your own life and mind your own damn business, exercising your own talents, pursuing your own dreams, striving to be what you believe you should be, what possible use would you have for a leader? Do you ever actually think about the words that you hear, the words that you repeat? You parrot oxymoronic terms such as the leader of the free world, even pretending for a moment that there is some huge journey or some giant battle.
All right, last warning, CJ, because you're really retard maxing now. That's like the king of all strawman. You're saying you're on a mission to expose this and you think you're going to fail at that mission, so why are you even making it? Who said I'm going to fail? What are you talking about? I'm bringing awareness, logic, and reason to the world, and I'm succeeding at it. I mean, I actually am succeeding more than I ever thought I would. I never thought there'd be thousands and thousands of subscribers. I mean, the old channel had millions and millions of views. So people were interested in logic and reason. What, you're hallucinating that I think I'm going to fail? What are you talking about? I've said many times that I consider myself maybe naive, but I consider myself an optimist. I think the ship can be turned around, and I don't even necessarily think it's a bad thing that everything is collapsing this fast, because it brings more awareness to it. Like the boiling frog, like COVID sped everything up. Yeah, it made everything worse, but at the same time, it opened up a lot of people's eyes. I think we might be past the point of 3.5%. It's just not an organized 3.5%. Welcome Plain and Simple Truth and Sarah Catherine in here. CJ says, so you're saying actually we can change things? Yeah, I don't know if you're being intentionally obtuse. We're specifically discussing statism here. I brought up the example 3 times now. The issue isn't that if you're on a slave plantation, a different plantation owner, a different slave master can't make things nicer for the slaves. The issue is, do you want to be a slave while you want to vote for another slave master? You want to distract yourself with the plantation owner while I'm discussing not being on the plantation in the first place and living free. Karate Master says Craig Maxing. Craig Maxing. Yeah, CJ, I don't like, you've been spamming more strawman in this stream than ever before. CJ's been around for a really long time. Like, he's a pretty cool mind shocker. Just a couple things he gets triggered by. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're just drunk right now. I don't know. I guess you are. Stupid like anarchy. Well, the world is already in anarchy, right? Interesting projection. Anarchy is the natural state of the universe. It's ever present. For example, you can have all the laws you want. People are still out there murdering people. So, yeah, I think CJ needs a timeout. Let's give CJ a little timeout since he's Craig Maxing. Actually, I don't really want to put him in a timeout because then his, you know what's stupid in YouTube chat when you put somebody, oh, Sandro put him in timeout? Because it gets rid of the messages, but I want people to see his messages. Well, I mean, I read them, so I guess that's alright, but whatever. Yeah, I think CJ's pretty cool, but just easily triggered. Okay, definitely triggering. There's no such thing as anarchy. It's a word that does not exist. So you're using words that don't exist. Okay, now I'm definitely putting you in timeout. So you're using words that are in a dictionary but don't exist? Oh, man. CJ's been retard maxing hard this stream. Craig maxing. All right, let's continue here.
That everyone in the entire nation is undertaking together that would require a leader. Why would you ever think, even for a moment, that the crooks that infest this town are the sort of people you should listen to or emulate or follow anywhere? Somewhere inside your mostly dormant brains, you know full well that politicians are all corrupt liars and thieves, opportunistic con men, exploiters, and fearmongers. You know all this, and yet you still speak as if you are the ones who are the stupid, vicious animals, while the politicians are the great, wise role models, teachers and leaders without whom civilization could not exist. You think these crooks are the ones who make civilization possible? What belief could be more absurd? Yet when they do their pseudo-religious rituals, deciding how to control you this week, you still call it law, and continue to treat their arbitrary demands as if they were moral decrees from the gods that no decent person would ever consider disobeying.
The other thing that's interesting is how the Founding Fathers had a completely different take on it. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God was actually considered to be on the official seal of the United States. Imagine if that had gone through. So all these clueless goofs, all these supposed religious men preaching religion in religious houses of worship or alleged religious houses of worship that are peddling to corrupt establishments, that are groveling at the boot of governments, are in direct violation of the religious tenets they claim to believe in and they claim to uphold. But that would... Critter Mama, you are now a mod. You paid your dues and you got a cool picture of a dog, so you get bonus points for that. Bonus points for man's best friend. Plain and Simple Truth says, I ran into Larkin when I was out for breakfast one day and almost started a flat earth debate with him, but I was with my young daughter, so I didn't. You know, it's weird. I almost, like, I should ask Larkin for an interview. An interview on statism, and then maybe ask him just to go through a few fallacies, and then bring up flat earth to see if he uses the same fallacies he exposes people for using to support statism. Sandro says, popular culture often equates anarchy with chaos, violence, and lawlessness. In reality, the words come from the ancient Greek anarchos, meaning without a ruler. Yeah, exactly. CJ fell for that psyop vehemently, to the point where he really wanted to make his ignorance clear. Even pretending anarchy's not a word. Like, how do you use a word that's not a word? Oh, man. Craig Maxing for sure. Well, not to mention, like, people think anarchy is disorder or chaos, but that's exactly what statism is. I mean, look at the rioting going on in the streets. Look at the murder rates, the robbery rates, property crime rates. I mean, they're pretty high in statist areas in the Western world. I mean, not so much in places with really high gun ownership, but in places without it, for sure. Sandro says, Google says that I'm not really that clever. I mean, isn't that kind of common knowledge, though? Yeah, no rulers. Well, government literally is made up of governmentalis, control the mind. It would have been cool if they actually did use God as the official seal.
You have become so thoroughly indoctrinated into the cult of state worship that you are truly shocked when the occasional sane person states the bleeding obvious. The mere fact that the political crooks wrote something down and declared their threats to be law does not mean that any human being anywhere has the slightest moral obligation to obey. Every moment of every day, in every location and every situation, you have a moral obligation to do what you deem to be right, not what some delusional bloated windbag says is legal.
And that's really powerful right there, too. If you're a true human being, if you're not simply a slave, you have agency. If the corrupt tell you something is illegal, like destroying flock cameras, You gotta do what you believe is right. Again, I'm not telling anybody to do anything. Legality is not equal to morality. Using the state as a metric for ethics. Crazy. The statist bootlicking scum traitors to all humanity. All the greatest evils of the world were legalized. And moral action was criminalized.
And that requires you to first determine right and wrong for yourself, a responsibility you spend much time and effort trying to dodge. You proclaim how proud you are to be law-abiding citizens and express your utter contempt for anyone who considers himself above your so-called laws. Laws that are nothing more than the selfish whims of tyrants and thieves. The word crime once meant an act harmful to another person. Now it means disobedience to any one of the myriad of arbitrary commands coming from a parasitical criminal class. To you, the term crime is nearly synonymous with the word sin, implying that the ones whose commands are being disobeyed must be something akin to gods, when in truth they are more akin to leeches. The very phrase, taking the law into your own hands, perfectly expresses what a sacrilege it is in your eyes for a mere human being to take upon himself the responsibility to judge right from wrong and to act accordingly, instead of doing what you do, unthinkingly obeying whatever capricious commands this cesspool of maggots spews forth.
And this was before COVID, but man, Larkin so on point. I have to say, scientism, aside from scientism, Larkin might be one of the best modern philosophers out there. He might be. Scientism aside. Aaron's Energy says the majority of Stockholm Syndrome. Also true.
You glorify this criminal class as lawmakers and believe that no one is lower than a lawbreaker, someone who would dare disobey the politicians. Likewise, you speak with pious reverence of law enforcers, those who forcibly impose the politicians' every whim upon the rest of us. When the state uses violence, you imagine it to be inherently righteous and just, and if anyone resists, they are, in your eyes, contemptible lowlifes, lawless terrorist criminals. Like the lawless terrorist criminals who helped slaves escape the plantations. Like the lawless terrorist criminals who helped Jews escape the killing machine of the Third Reich. Like the lawless terrorist criminals who were crushed to death under the tanks of the Red Chinese government in Tiananmen Square. Like all the lawless terrorist criminals in history who had the courage to disobey the never-ending stream of tyrants and oppressors who have called their violence authority and law. And that includes the lawless terrorist criminals who founded this country. Everything you think you know is upside down, backwards, and inside out. But what has to take the cake, the height of your insanity, is the fact that you view as violent terrorists the only people on the planet who oppose the initiation of violence against their fellow men. Anarchists, voluntarists, and libertarians. We use violence only to defend ourselves against someone who initiates violence against us. We use it for nothing else. Meanwhile, your belief system is completely schizophrenic and self-contradictory. On the one hand, you teach the young slaves that violence is never the answer. Yet out of the other side of your mouths, you advocate that everyone and everything, everywhere and at all times be controlled, monitored, taxed, and regulated through the force of government.
And this was years and years before flock cameras. This was actually probably before most traffic cameras, too. I mean, this is old. This is from, I think, what was this? This is from, like, Obama and Mitt Romney election. Is that what this is from? I mean, this is many years on. I mean, there were there were traffic cameras, but they're not like now, like where red light cameras all over the place, flock cameras, CCTV everywhere. Not that Bill Cooper didn't predict all this either. Shout out Bill Cooper. And of course, the OG, Serge Monast from the once semi-great nation of Canada.
In short, you are teaching your children that the masters may use violence whenever they please, but the slave should never resist. You indoctrinate your children into a life of unthinking, helpless subservience. You are putting the chains around their little necks and fastening the locks tight. And worst of all, you feel good about it. Out of one side of your mouths, you condemn the evils of fascism and socialism and lament the injustices of the regimes of Hitler, Stalin, and Mao. While out of the other side of your mouths, you preach exactly what they did. The worship of the collective, the subjugation of every individual to that evil insanity that wears the deceptive label, the common good. You babble on and on about diversity and open-mindedness, and then beg your masters to regulate and control every aspect of everyone's lives, creating a giant herd of unthinking conformist drones. You wear different clothes and have different hairstyles, and you think that makes you different. Yet all your minds are enslaved to the same club of masters and controllers. You think what they tell you to think and do what they tell you to do while imagining yourselves to be progressive, thinking, and enlightened. From your position of relative comfort and safety, you now condemn the evils of other lands and other times while turning a blind eye to the injustices happening right in front of you. You tell yourself that had you lived in those other places, in those other times, you would have been among those who stood up against oppression and defended the downtrodden. But that is a lie. You would have been right there with the rest of the flock of well-trained sheep, loudly demanding that the slaves be beaten, that the witches be burned, that the nonconformists and rebels be destroyed. How do I know this? Because that is exactly what you are doing today.
And this was before COVID. Wow, this is such a haunting prophecy. So many years before COVID. Years and years before COVID. Larkin called it. Larkin nailed it. With Alex Jones level precision. Regarding masks, mandates, all that stuff. Larkin called it. And this was all before
It's malcontents and free.
As they wanted everybody to subjugate themselves just because those who hallucinate they have the right to play God told them to do something. Any status in the chat? Still no? No?
Today's injustices and oppressions are fashionable and popular, and those who resist them, you tell yourselves, are just malcontents and freaks, people whose rights don't matter, people who deserve to be crushed under the boot of authority. Isn't that right? You bunch of spineless, unthinking hypocrites, look in the mirror. Take a good look at what you imagine to be righteous and kind. You are the devil's plaything. The crowds of thousands wildly applauding the speeches of Adolf Hitler, that was you.
I don't want to open up Pandora's box there with the Victors Write the History books on WW2, but Larkin was obviously appealing to the mainstream narrative there.
Mob demanding that Jesus Christ be nailed to the cross, that was you. The white invaders who celebrated the wholesale slaughter of those godless redskins, that was you. The throngs filling the Colosseum, applauding as the Christians were fed to the lions, that was you. Throughout history, the perpetual suffering and injustice occurring on an incomprehensible scale, it was all because of people just like you. The well-trained, thoroughly indoctrinated conformists, the people who do as they're told, who proudly bow to their masters, who follow the crowd, believing what everyone else believes and thinking whatever authority tells them to think. That is you. And your ignorance is not because the truth is not available to you. There have been radicals preaching it for thousands of years. No, you are ignorant because you shun the truth with all your heart and soul. You close your eyes and run away when a hint of reality lands in front of you. You condemn as extremists and fringe kooks those who try to show you the chains you wear because you don't want to be free. You don't even want to be human. Responsibility and reality scare the hell out of you, so you cling tightly to your own enslavement and lash out at any who seek to free you from it. When someone opens the door to your cage, you cower back in the corner and yell, "Close it, close it."
I mean, wow. Larkin is true. I forgot about this video. Like, I've seen it a million times, but not in a while. Man, Larkin dropping Alex Jones level prophesizing. I mean, look what happened with COVID. I mean, just so apt. Not just COVID, but like, yeah, any status psyop, propaganda campaigns, any kind of oppression of any. I mean, look at the goofs now back that are saying flock cameras are good. I mean, it's crazy the level of goofery in bootlicking. Like, bootlicking and goofery it seem to go hand in hand, do they not? Do they not?